So, you may have noticed I've also moved house, not too far away. I now live in Ongar, which is a little kind of country town in Essex. So, this particular video I wanted to talk about red teaming. This is Catson, one of my two lovely cats, by the way, and he's a bit needy this morning because we've moved house, so he's not allowed out, so he's decided to use me as a climbing frame. So, what is red teaming? Well, red teaming comes from original military parlance, and it's essentially thinking like or acting like or preparing against the opposition. So the red team are always the opposition and the blue team are always the allies, the defence. So if we're looking at the concept of red teaming for self-defense, self-protection, what that means is looking at our threat profile. So who are the people that are most likely to cause us harm? So understanding who your particular red team is, and that will be very different depending on who you are, how old you are, where you live, your age, your size, your weight, your gender. All of these things really do matter. So if you're thinking about your red team, you've got to remember that it's very bespoke to you and who you are and what you do. But once you understand, and bear in mind that there'll be multiple types of threat. There'll be multiple types of threat because if you've got, say, profile A, there may be 3 distinct type of attackers that may go for you depending on all manner of attributes, and every person is very different. But if you're to embrace red teaming as a concept, look at yourself honestly, look at yourself as if you were a target, who would likely target you, and then start to break down who that would be, where would they likely do it given on your normal average day, where would they do it on your way to work, when you're at home, when you're going to pick up your kids, where are you vulnerable, how would they go about doing it, so what techniques, tactics would they be tooled up? You know, I'm a big guy, so you'd be very unwise, or you'd be very brazen if you're a solo attacker to try and mug me. I'm a big person. You might do it with a blade. You might think that's a big enough prompt for me to acquiesce, and you're very correct in that. But each different person has their own different profile. So look at the how. How would you go about taking out you? And through the lens of that red team, you know, what would these people do to get you? When would this take place? So there's the where and also the when. Is it likely to be in the morning when you go out for your jog? Is it going to be when you're coming home all tired and distracted? Is it going to be when you're waiting to pick up kids? Is it going to be when you're out at the bar, cinema, club, kind of evening entertainment? What's it likely to be? Where's it likely to be? How's it likely to happen? And who is likely to instigate it? And if you start to wrap all of those basic journalistic questions, those who, where, what, how, and when, if you start to build all of those together, you'll have a really comprehensive red teaming strategy. It's a really good exercise to do with pupils, to get people to start to write down what their personal red team might be, and then use that to build some of these scenarios. But the act of red teaming itself is really useful because we can find ourselves in martial arts and in combatives. We can find ourselves preparing for the least likely attacker, the least likely antagonist. So, for example, a lot of people, a lot of clubs like Krav Maga clubs, they work on things like counter-terrorism. But how likely are you to be attacked or killed by a terrorist compared to some local scallywags outside your local shop? You know, in reality, your risk of terrorism for most people in most parts of the world doing their normal daily life is relatively low. Whereas things like transactional crime, we can look at, you know, when people are looking at theft of property on your person, mugging, we can look at things like rape, we can look at gang violence, antisocial violence. All of those things are going to be a lot more likely to happen to you than a full-on 9/11 airplane takeover. Whilst those things are fun and great to do and they're just interesting intellectually, if you start to break down your red teaming approach, what is your higher percentile threats? What is most likely and most common to your area and attacks against your type of person, your personality, your size, your weight, your age, your gender, your geography, your socioeconomic standing? All of those things will have a factor on your personal risk profile. So I'd say as a red teaming exercise, make sure it's hyper personal to you. You know, take time to break yourself down as a demographic. What kind of person are you right now? For example, right now, I'm a tall, relatively strong, I'm bald, I'm bearded, people are less likely to find me a victim or a desirable victim than an old person over the road. But if I have an injury tomorrow, if I go to judo and I bugger my knee, I'm suddenly now a man with a limp and a cane, and perhaps my threat profile then changes dynamically. So any small thing, every single day, you might present a slightly different threat or risk profile. Only slightly different, but bear in mind that it will change throughout your life. So red teaming is a great exercise to take stock of who you are right now, what your risks are right now, how to think like the opposition, and then use that oppositional thinking to make some really good concerted changes to behaviors, to strategies that you have, and also in the tools, techniques, and practices that you own. So if you start to think about your different threat profiles and what you might be attacked with or by whom, that might start to change the nature of what you focus your training on, moving more towards grappling or striking or weapons defense or de-escalation or mental health management or any number of things. But red teaming is a very important tool to have if you're going to take your self-protection and self-defense seriously. So I earnestly encourage you to take that time to have the personal exercise to become the opposition and profile yourself, and for extra points, start to profile the ones that you love. And if you wish to, start to cross-compare notes with other people in your class so you can understand, you can advise each other, because you might have missed a character trait or flaw about yourself because not many people are very self-aware. So do take the time to kind of cross-pollinate, compare notes, and discuss and share with people that you know, love, and trust. That really does matter too. So go out there, do some red teaming and have some fun.